Okay, so here is where we're going to get into the harmonious temperament, which is cultivated through the mutable signs. So allow me to read from The Art of Synthesis, um, and this section where he talks about this temperament, which is a result of having the majority of planets being in common or mutable signs. So common is another word for mutable. Why that is, I'm not too sure. I think it's because mutable energy is that energy that can blend in and can really uh, mold and adapt itself to fit in. Um, and the reason for that is because mutable energy helps to adapt and transition energy. And what better way to help A transition into B than by kind of being a mover in between those two worlds, kind of being a blender. You can blend in with A and get on the good side of A, and then you can blend in with B. And so you kind of help that transition become very smooth. This is why mutable sign people really need to do their best to build a solid sense of self within them, capitalize on those fixed signs wherever they fall in your chart, and yeah, work with that fixed energy if you are mutable. So on the surface, he says, this may not seem the best name to give to what is often a monotonous temperament, but it tends toward harmony and peace more than discord. It has more affinity with intellect than with desire or action. So the fixed signs have most affinity with desire, and cardinal signs, of course, have affinity with action. But it may vary a good deal in its nature, the mutable signs. It is not easy to describe or to understand, and the persons who exhibit it are not easy to know. So, to help you re-understand what these three modes really represent energetically is the centripetal, centrifugal, and vibratory motion. So this is laid out in the energy of a wheel. So there's energy that goes from the hub out to the rim, from the hub through the spokes out to the rim of the wheel, and that is centrifugal. It's going phew, it's going out towards the rim. Then there's energy going out from the rim inward towards the hub. That's centripetal energy. That relates to the fixed signs. We draw energy in towards the center. Um, that's why fixed signs are so magnetic and charismatic because we're drawing you in. It's this magnetic energy. But the mutable signs relate to the vibratory motion, which really relates to the spokes. It's the role that the spokes in the wheel are playing, where they connect the hub with the rim. Okay? So fixed signs are the hub, that hubcap of the wheel. Cardinal signs are the rim, and mutable signs are the spokes. So it's vibratory. So they really are a go-between. And this is why the mutable signs transition the seasons. So we're in Gemini season right now, for example, and Gemini is transitioning spring into the warmth of summer. So it's not easy to describe or to understand, even though I just described it. And the persons who exhibit it are not easy to know. It is sometimes a rather useless temperament for those who have to mix with the world, if unassisted by the cardinal quality. I'm so sorry to bring this up, mutable sign people, but if you do a couple Google searches of what are the zodiac signs of serial killers, you're going to find that the majority of them are mutable signs. Very strange. This is actually a startling but well-known fact in the astrology community that serial killers tend to be mutable signs. Very crazy, which is Gemini, Virgo, Pisces, and Sagittarius. So, he says here it's sometimes a rather useless temperament for those who have to mix with the world if unassisted by the cardinal quality. The intellect it gives may vary greatly from the superficial, changeable, and unpractical to the profound and comprehensive. I think Albert Einstein was a Pisces. Wasn't Nikola Tesla a Pisces as well? I have to check that. But they can be geniuses for sure. But in most cases, you know, or serial killers. And he says, but in most cases, it is accompanied by a considerable amount of finesse, subtlety, and reserve. In some natures, this may amount to craft, cunning, deception, stealth, lack of candor, and duplicity, but in others, it may show as insight, understanding, intuition, ability to look beneath the surface of things, to grasp the underlying unity amidst apparent outward diversity. The tactful diplomatic mind on one hand, or the comprehensive philosophic mind on the other. It often manifests with this understanding, very profound and wide sympathy, and a large tolerance that seeks to include all humanity, the sinner as much as the saint, and the unfortunate more than the prosperous. The idea of the brotherhood of humanity seems to belong largely here and to be based upon more upon intuition than upon comic emotion. The tendency of these signs is to develop a methodical, sympathetic, sensitive, nervous, and highly strung nature. But there is apt to be too much duality, a proneness to vacillation, irresolution, to quote unquote sit on the fence, and to shirk responsibility. They have points both of resemblance with and of difference from the other zodiacal signs. This is what makes them so enigmatic. They really are a between the cardinal and the fixed. They resemble the cardinal signs in being often productive of change, but this is generally due to their adaptability and duality of nature, or to indifference and drifting, and is of quite a different character from the prompt, rapid, and decisive change of the movable quality, cardinal quality. They lack both the obstinacy and the strength of will of the fixed signs, and yet they may show a monotonous uniformity of action and a quiet, phlegmatic life that looks very much like deliberation and firmness. So the mutable signs can really give the appearance of determination and consistency, which is um, really resembles that of the fixed signs, due to their ability to have rhythm, in what it is they're doing. The mutable signs require a great deal of support from other influences to bring out the best that is in them, among which are aptitude for details, mental flexibility, and ingenuity, and an easy adaptability to circumstances. Because these persons are rather lacking in decision, but are apt in comprehension, they usually make better and more fortunate servants than masters. That's an important sentence. Because these persons are rather lacking in decision, but are apt in comprehension, they usually make better and more fortunate servants than masters. And they would be well advised to be content to play second fiddle and not to aim at positions of power or responsibility. Take that with a grain of salt, of course. If you're a mutable sign, I don't let astrology limit me. I wouldn't recommend you allow it to limit you either. If you're a mutable sign but it's in your heart to be a leader or to be the boss of an organization or to play first fiddle and not second fiddle, then you do you. But just understand your aptitude, understand your strengths and your weaknesses, know yourself. They make good agents, intermediaries, interpreters, commentators, counselors, advisors, arguers, secretaries, diplomatists, and tacticians, and many make impartial judges, critics, editors, arbitrators, and generalizers. They can fill any position in which they carry out or express the will of another, interpret another's ideas, or act as go-betweens, either mentally or in the more literal sense of traveling. But if placed in positions of authority, are apt to display a lack of breadth and power, and show a proneness to be niggling over matters of detail, and to be more particular regarding trifling distinctions than fundamental principles, and for this reason are far less desirable persons for such posts than those who have a good supply of the fixed sign ballast. The two mercurial signs are prone to continual repetition of past experiences in consciousness. All right, so the two mercurial signs, the two signs ruled by Mercury are Gemini and Virgo. And he says they're prone to continual repetition of past experiences in consciousness. This is why we just went over this Gemini new moon, and we've been constantly beset by memories and thought patterns, and these things are coming to light so we can reprocess them and overcome them. So yeah, they're very prone to repetition of past experiences, hence to worrying, anxiety, daydreaming, and sometimes absent-mindedness. But they tend to go beneath the surface of things, for good as well as for evil. They easily adapt themselves to intellectual, literary, scientific, and philosophical studies. And if Mercury is strong or angular, it's on the cusp of the first, seventh, fourth, or 10th house, may make omnivorous readers, and prolific authors. Virgo adapts itself to a business career rather better than does Gemini, but sometimes inclines to carping and fattiness and to become too critical and analytical. Gemini children often show much aptness for books and lessons, and later in life, considerable versatility and flexibility of mind, sometimes garrulity in speech or writing. Both Gemini and Virgo have a natural tendency either to great reserve or else to attach themselves to a stronger will, to whose nature they easily adapt themselves. Hence, partnership, friendship, companionship, devotion, sociality, founded, however, more upon adaptability and understanding than upon emotion. But they are both rather difficult to know, and one may live with them for years without fully understanding them. The Jupiter signs. So it's interesting to note that Mercury rules two of the mutable signs, and Jupiter rules the other two mutable signs. Mercury rules the air and the earth mutable signs, and Jupiter rules the water and the fire mutable signs. This is a profound, meaningful fact of astrology, and will really help you understand Mercury and Jupiter. So the Jupiter signs are rather more open and on the surface, being fond of the beautiful, the harmonious, the peaceful, and the properly balanced and proportioned. And it really shows how much more emotional Jupiter is than Mercury, right? As far as these planetary influences go. Jupiter is about belief, and there's a lot of emotion that comes with belief. But Mercury is about analyzing and dissecting and studying and until it knows a thing. And so this is it's a very cold, unemotional kind of energy. So the Jupiter signs are rather more open, and on the surface, being fond of the beautiful, the harmonious, the peaceful, the properly balanced and proportioned. They are somewhat inclined to precision in forms, customs, and etiquette, to fine clothes, beautiful houses and rooms, neatness and orderliness, to pride, dignity, pomp, show, correctness, and orthodoxy. Just think of the Catholic Church and how much they're about their ceremonies and their shows. A prominent Mars or Uranus, however, will easily upset this tendency in Sagittarius and will give rebelliousness, rashness, and perversity, while Pisces may become, under other influences, indolent, inert, flaccid, talkative, and indifferent. Both often display an active imagination, and a good many people who possess clairvoyance or some psychic gift are either born under these signs or have important planets stationed in them. Priests, judges, and physicians often either have Sagittarius or Pisces rising, or else Jupiter angular, or several planets in these signs. Of these three qualities, right? So now we're going to synthesize them a little bit here. Now we're going to look at them as an overview. Of these three qualities, the cardinal is perhaps the most important, he says, for it quickens, energizes, and stirs into life and activity the other two. The fixed signs, while denoting stability and firmness, are apt to remain latent and inert. They require the stimulating properties of the movable signs, the cardinal signs, to bring out the powers locked up within them. The mutable or common signs, while producing concordance, rhythm, and harmony, cause a monotonous recurrence and repetition, which has a tedious and iterative effect and needs to be broken up by the disturbing and invigorating movable signs. So, you know, this is very interesting. He says, on the other hand, the cardinal signs by themselves are too discontinuous, too unrestful, and need the steadying influence of the fixed group and the balance and impartiality of the mutable. This is really just showing how we all need each other. And the kind of people that you're attracting into your life, if you're attracting a lot of cardinal signs, it shows that your intention is to move, it's to get things off the ground, is for activity and stimulation. I've noticed this in my own life. Anytime I wanted to get things moving and progress to the next chapter of my life, I attracted a lot of cardinal signs. Anytime I wanted to learn and expand my comprehension, my knowledge, I would attract a lot of mutable signs. So cardinal signs help us get going. Mutable signs help us learn and communicate. And then if you have the intention to stabilize or to concentrate, I didn't bring that up because I'm a fixed sign. So that's what I naturally do. But if you want to get things fixed and steadied and organized and concentrated, you're going to attract a lot of fixed sign people. Depending on your intention will determine the kind of people you attract. That's been my experience, at least. Um, so the cardinal signs energize and vitalize. That's what the cardinal signs do. The fixed signs bring back to stability and solidity. The mutable are intermediate in nature, harmonizing and adjusting. In a very general sense, if the idea is not materialized too much, the fixed signs may be compared to motionless solids, the cardinal to gas in rapid motion, and the mutable to the liquid state, intermediate between the two. Okay? Solid, liquid, gas. There's another way to understand these three. The three, when properly balanced, correspond to the laya state or latency, which preceded the dawn of creation and which will follow its close. It is the combination of these groups that denotes the quality or kind of vehicle through which the native is manifesting his mind, feelings, or actions. Taken separately, the fixed signs have to do with the willpower, the motives, the heart, and the foundation of the man. They govern the trunk of the body and, in a general sense, favor what is known as the vital temperament. The cardinal signs have to do with the direct forces, the guiding and propelling tendencies, and the brain generally. They govern the head and favor what is known as the mental temperament. The mutable or common signs are the servers, agents, conveyors, and have to do with carrying out the orders of the heart and brain. They govern the nervous system, the limbs of the body, and favor what is known as the motive temperament. To combine these groups is the greatest work of art an astrologer can accomplish, and gives at once the key to the line of least resistance normally adopted by the native. In the example horoscopes, these combinations will be explained. In concluding this chapter, it'll be well to note that affinities are built up by these combinations. So later, as this book goes on, he starts to give example horoscopes, example birth charts, and to break them down. Pretty cool. He says a person born with the majority of planets in fixed signs gains by coming into contact with another having the majority of planets in cardinal signs. And for this reason, the active qualities stir into life and manifestation the qualities of the fixed group. I experienced this, especially being around Aries people. They really help activate my fire and help me get going, even just by being around them. So yeah, as a fixed sign myself, I love the cardinal signs. So the active qualities stir into life and manifestation the qualities of the fixed group, and the two work better together, having a united force of great strength. What the one gains in stimulation, the other gains in solidification and steadiness. Neither should hurt the other unless the law of complements is totally ignored or misunderstood. Each therefore has his mission in life, and the one can supply the needs of the other. If the cardinal signs produce in the one intolerance and too much impatience, the desired effect cannot be accomplished. Similarly, if the fixed signs produce too much obstinacy and aloofness, or if the mutable signs become too irritable and rebellious, each must be prepared to give and take, and then mutual benefit is assured. Each must be prepared to give and take, because souls are about giving and receiving. Ego is about taking and keeping, so because it's all about separateness. But soulfulness is about, sharing, giving and taking. So as long as we give and take, then mutual benefit is assured. In a general sense, and for all practical purposes, Uranus may be considered the head or ruler of the fixed group. Mercury, ruler of the mutable, and Mars of the cardinal, but only in a general and not in a particular sense. If any difficulty arises in it's interesting. Okay, it's interesting that he says Uranus should be at the head of the fixed group. I would say the sun, but if you understand Alan Leo's writings, he talks a lot about the esotericness of how Uranus is a type of replacement of the sun when it comes to the operation of the higher will. But nonetheless, I would generally, for general practical purposes, I would put the sun as the head of the fixed group. If any difficulty arises in deciding as to which group should be considered as containing the majority of planets in your chart, give preference to that containing the sun or moon, and give a casting vote to the ascendant. It sometimes happens, for instance, that the qualities are evenly balanced. The 9 planets, which we have 10 now, being evenly distributed throughout the signs, i.e., 3 in cardinal, 3 in fixed, and 3 in mutable. This gives what is known as a balanced temperament. It is not always good, except in the case of advanced souls who know how to use the 3 qualities. It is therefore sometimes very good, but at others very inimical to progress, for balance sometimes means inertia, lack of power to tilt the scale to one side or the other. In the advanced soul, it would mean readjustment of all qualities, thus producing a harmonious blending of all sides of the nature. In a very young or undeveloped ego, it would denote stagnation, requiring a very exceptional environment to act upon and disturb the balance for progressive purposes. In the advanced, it would mean a balancing of the temperaments. In the ordinary person, the life would be too even and unprogressive, or rather, progress would be exceedingly slow and the life very tame. Excess of one quality over another always denotes an eventful life. In the case of Prince Bismarck, the balance of the temperament was justified, but here, as in most cases, the rising sign had the casting vote and gave him the tendency towards the fixed quality. Prince Bismarck is one of the birth charts here that I think he delineates here in this book. So awesome. So that is the 3 qualities, the quadruplicities, also known as the modes in astrology: cardinal, fixed, and mutable. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love you so much. Be blessed. Reach out to me if you want a birth chart reading, or if I can be of help to you in any way. If you'd like to join these free classes every Friday, get in contact with me and you'll get the invite. I love you guys so much. Peace be with you. Infinite love and gratitude.